Everybody, welcome to today's meeting. Um, the membership has expressed a lot of interest in the southern part of Africa. So today, Pat Lyons will talk to us about her trip to the country of South Africa and to Zimbabwe and Botswana, two other countries in southern Africa. So I'm sort of making a distinction. When I say South Africa, I mean the country. And when I say Southern Africa, I mean the southern part of the continent. We invite you to ask questions and make comments during the talk. We're trying to make the meetings more interactive, and I think the last meeting was really successful using that format. Pat, I'm all set for you to inform us, and you're muted.
I didn't know it was Pat talking, so I muted her. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that's okay. Basically, I agreed to do this just because I enjoyed the trip to South Africa so much. And some of you may have also been to Southern Africa. I actually went 10 years ago, and it still ranks as one of the favorite places I've been. It ranks right up there with the Danube River Cruise and a couple of other places I've been, but I really enjoyed it. I wasn't really like, it was never on my bucket list to go to Africa, but a woman friend that I have, her husband doesn't like to travel, and she was looking for somebody to go with. I was like, why not? So anyway, I went and I was just really pleasantly surprised. As I said, it was 10 years ago, and it was a 15 or 16-day trip, which was a really long time for me to take off work then, but it just worked out. Um, as I said, I wasn't enthused about it before I went, but when I got back, I really was excited about everywhere I'd been. Just as an FYI, the travel there is a bit challenging. Many of you may have been places that are also challenging to get to. On the way there, it was like 2 hours from Detroit to Atlanta, then a layover, and then it was 16 hours from Atlanta to Johannesburg, and then a layover, and then another 2 hours from Johannesburg to Cape Town. So I don't remember how long the layovers were, but all in all, it was a rather long trip. On the way back, they took us from Johannesburg to Paris and then from Paris to Detroit. But I don't remember how long those flights were. The one that
Was
sticks
that,
in my
was that
mind
Air
is
France by any chance?
I don't believe so. I think it was probably
Oh,
Delta. Um,
okay.
if it's been a long time and I'm not totally sure, but I'm sure it wasn't Air France. Anyway, part of the trip also were included in it were two inland flights, just so you know, from Cape Town over to Durban, which is where the Indian Ocean is, and then driving. It was a paid tour, and then we also flew from Johannesburg up to Zimbabwe to go see Victoria Falls. So we didn't spend as much time on the bus as we could have, which I was very grateful for because I'm not really fond of buses, but nonetheless, I loved it. Another thing I guess I would comment on up front was the disparity in temperatures within the trip. So when we were down in Cape Town and we went out to, Cape Town and Cape of Good Hope. And then we went up to something called Table Mountain. And it was cold enough that I wanted like two lightweight layers on top of my shirt. And then when we got up into Botswana, it was 105 in the afternoon. So traveling there requires a variety of apparel that you bring with. So I guess that's kind of the main thing. I
What
can
time of year was it?
It was October. In fact, it was
Okay.
almost exactly 10 years ago because it was October of 2015. And like I said, I will share what I remember. If you've also been to Africa and you have anything to share about it, please pipe in. That's fine with me. Just unmute yourself and pipe in if you want to. Have
The,
some of you been to South Africa or Southern Africa? Okay,
No,
so couple, yeah. Okay.
the other disparity, as you're saying, differences in temperature. The other one that's a little hard to adjust is the monetary systems that they have.
Yeah, yeah.
If U.S. dollar, for example, in Zimbabwe is 362 of their units. I forgot what they're called now. And it's even in South Africa, it's 18 to 1 from their South African rands. So it does take a lot of adjustments as you're looking at prices on things when you've got that big a difference.
It's true. I did find, though, if I remember correctly, that a surprising number of places did take credit cards. So if you had a credit card without a foreign transaction fee,
Yeah.
it was easier just to use a credit card.
Yeah, we mostly use credit cards. Yes, yeah.
It was just easier, I felt. So anyway, let me share my screen here. I want to say that there are pictures of people in here, so please just ignore the people as much as possible. I will see here. Okay. Anyway, this is kind of in the way here for me. I'll move it over. Okay. So this is just me and the friend I was traveling with. And what's in the backdrop here is the road on the way to the Cape of Good Hope, and just the beautiful mountains in the background. And you can see how small the houses look. But I have a number of pictures of that area and many pictures also of the vegetation that were there. And it looks like I'm not getting all the pictures. I'm getting some abbreviated version here. So let's do this way. Okay. There we go. Okay. So here you can see how tall the mountains are and the buildings down below, how small they look. I'm going to kind of zip through some of these, but it's just to give you some idea of how pretty it is there. That was just somebody showing off, one of the locals doing something to try and get donations, on the street. And they had a lot of items that were carved locally that were just available on the street. And I did check the bottoms, and they weren't usually made in China, so that was good. But a lot of things were along the way. Here, people taking pictures. This was an interesting rock formation, I thought, that was across the water. And you can also see all the houses there. So these are pretty far away, but you can see how large everything is in proportion to the houses that are there. One of the things I loved about Southern Africa is the calla lilies grow wild there. And there were a number of places I found calla lilies growing wild, which I thought was really cool. Little pictures of how far it is to everything. But this was just a little park that we went to along the way. And some of the views. This was 10 years ago, so I look a lot younger. But just a lot of really beautiful, naturally occurring vegetation along the way, which I found wonderful. So here, Cape of Good Hope, just taking a look at everything. There was an ostrich there, and I never understood what that ostrich was doing there. It didn't really look like a farm, and yet I didn't get the impression that they were native, so I wasn't really sure what the ostrich was doing there. But it was interesting.
Actually, we did see ostriches on our trip, and they are native in the area. You will see them in captivity also there. But we were driving down a road, and the bus driver pointed out one that was off to the side. So they do run wild in the area, even though they're often you'll see them in enclosed, fenced-in areas.
Yeah.
And you can go and feed them and so on and so forth and have them spit in your face and other things they do.
What a joy, right? Yeah, this was just a lunch place. But then we went to Boulders National Park, and you've probably been there too. It's someplace where the penguins nest, the African penguins. And so I have a number of pictures of the penguins. I guess that's another thing that when I went to Africa, I didn't quite envision there being penguins. But if you think about the fact that Africa and Antarctica are probably not that far apart, it's not that shocking when you really think about it. But it isn't something that I was consciously aware of before I went, that there would be penguins there. And there were quite a few, obviously.
Can you slow the pictures down a little bit?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Yep. This one, African penguins are listed as endangered, endemic to South Africa, formerly called jackass penguin. Donkey-like braying. But
it was surprising to us also. We went there also that I wasn't expecting penguins.
Yeah.
And again, the colony, we went to exactly the same place you went, and it was, I mean, you could walk out there and they're just wandering around like they're in the wild.
Yep.
It was really very interesting to see them.
I thought it was too. I was really surprised. Um, so, this is just about the vegetation there and the shelter. From there, we went on to something called Kirstenbosch. I think there might have been a national garden, but it was just many, many varieties of a single flower called a protea. I don't know if you gentlemen were there too, but it was gorgeous. The gardeners in the group will appreciate it, those who do. But many, many pictures of flowers here because I kind of like flowers. So got a little carried away with the flower pictures. But they also had these, what appeared to be some sort of turkey vulture or turkey, wild turkey that was there. You can see how beautiful the vegetation is in this park. I especially like these ones that look like pin cushions. We don't have anything that looks like that around here anyway, in Michigan. I bought a new camera just before I went. So
How many pictures did you take?
probably 600.
Okay.
I've wheedled them down, but yeah, it was probably that many. Um, Duck.
Was this a Gate One tour, or who was the
It
tour
it
company?
was a Gate One tour. Did you do that one also?
No, I haven't done that one, but we've done several Gate One tours. They've all been good.
Yeah, my impression, I've done quite a few of theirs too, and I've been very happy with them in general.
The price is right.
Yeah, they're reasonable and they do a very excellent job in my book. I did Spain and Portugal with them, Spain, Brazil and Argentina, Iceland, and the Canadian Rockies, I think, in addition to this one.
Huh. Really cool.
They're beautiful, aren't they, the flowers?
Mhm.
Does anybody want to read some of this before I move on? Or looks like somebody at least is a gardener. Oh, that's interesting. Each pin in these cushions is a single flower, and clustered together, they make spectacular flower heads. Take a closer look at the pin cushion. In bud, each flower is a colorful tube. As the flower opens, the tube splits into strips that fall away and release the pin. The strips are the petals and the flower. Look at the curly ribbons on the cushion, and the pin is the style, the elongated part between the ovary and the stigma. Anyway, yeah. But there's gorgeous flowers there.
Wow.
Then this is moving on. This is the town of Cape Town itself. Um, this was a government building there. I don't remember which one, but a government building. And some vendors out on the street. Nothing spectacular about these, but I think one of the things that also surprised me, there were several. The cities that we went to were very modern cities. And the one thing that struck me the most, I think, about South Africa was that in general, I felt that the people were much better groomed than we usually are. The cashiers in the grocery store had very nice clothes on and their hair was done and they had makeup on. And the people walking on the street, for the most part, seemed to be very well dressed. In our country, we've kind of gotten to ripped jeans and, things like that. And I just was impressed at the time with how they behaved. And I don't know what it's like now. That was 10 years ago, like I said. But at the time, I thought it was pretty spectacular. So. And I don't remember what church it was. I have no idea at this point. Just
Is
some
this one of those places where you're visiting church after church after church, or is it?
I
It's
don't
not like
remember. I don't think we visited a lot of churches. No, not
okay.
this one. More that's a European thing.
Yeah,
But yeah.
we didn't visit a lot of churches either.
Uh-huh.
It isn't nothing like going through Spain or Italy or something like that, or
Right.
any of the European countries. They
Yeah.
do have a few big churches, but not anything like what Europe has.
Yeah. This I could talk about just a little bit. I kind of thought it was interesting. This is a park in the city, but it was originally set aside by the Dutch East India Company, started it, and it was some way to grow fruits and vegetables for the sailors on the boats that were coming between India and Europe. And when they got to the Cape of Good Hope, um, they would be out of fresh vegetables and they were worried about scurvy and things. So they had built gardens there to try and keep the sailors healthy. And I thought that was kind of interesting. This is just the guy who was the prime minister there that they built a statue for. And this is the waterfront in Cape Town, obviously.
They see me.
Pardon me?
That was my background talking.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Anyway, just some photos of the area. Some of the things in the shops. As I said, I got the impression they were made locally, but who knows for sure. But just cutesy things that they seem to sell a lot of. One of my favorite things is coming up quick. I thought this was adorable. There was a shopping mall, and the bar out had put this sign outside calling it a husband daycare center, which I thought was adorable. Drop your husband off here and leave him. So it was by the shopping mall. I thought it was really cute though. Just us.
So a question. When I went around South America, at the bottom there's the Cape. I think it's called Cape Horn. It's known for extremely violent weather and water. Is that true of Cape Town too?
Well, I didn't actually witness the very tip that way, but I didn't get the impression that it was the case. Where we saw the water was not particularly volatile looking. It was, pretty calm because we could see pretty far.
I think I believe that Cape Horn is quite a bit farther south than the bottom of Africa. Dwayne, do you know?
No. Cape Horn is in the area. That's Cape Horn. The distance between one of the reasons the Drake Passage between Antarctica and South America is so rough is because that space is quite narrow. So all that water coming the Pacific has to go through that narrow space. Yes, in the area below South Africa, as you go further down, that's much wider, so it generally isn't as rough. We didn't experience when we were down there. Be rough. And an interesting thing, I think you alluded to that, Pat, is a lot of people think that Cape Hope is the dividing line between the Indian and the Atlantic Oceans, and it's not. It's the actual Cape. It starts with Agula or something like that. Don't quote me on that. It's actually somewhat further south, not that far, but somewhat further south than Cape Hope itself.
Well,
just an interesting fact. I don't think that affects the weather there, but people think where we've gone to where the Indian Atlantic Ocean split, but that's not the case.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I was disappointed when we went there because I thought I would be able to see the Indian Ocean from going to the Cape of Good Hope, and I did learn that it's not the farthest southernmost point of Africa, but it's the southernmost part of the southwestern part of Africa is what they call it.
I just looked up it. Agulhas. Cape Agulhas. Don't check my pronunciation. Is the actual point.
while we were on this tour, we had a free morning or afternoon, I can't remember which, and they had an aquarium there that we decided to go to, and it was really a very nice aquarium. Lots of pictures of fish, which, I don't know if it interests anybody or not, but
Those are good pictures.
thanks.
What kind of a camera did you have?
I just gotten a new camera. I bought a Sony mirrorless 35 millimeter digital camera for this trip.
Oh, okay.
And I bought the telephoto lens to go with it so I could get better pictures of animals in the preserves. So, it does take good pictures. I still have it, and I've gotten lazy, and most of the time I just take pictures with my phone now, which may be sad, but it's even, the mirrorless cameras are lighter, but it's still a lot heavier than having your phone. So get an idea of how big it was there. Just some pictures from Cape Town.
Where did you stay in Cape Town?
I have absolutely no recollection whatsoever.
Only reason I'm asking is that the tour that we were on, which ours was through Gohagen, we stayed at the Mount Nelson Hotel. It's maybe the nicest hotel I've ever stayed at, and the friendliest staff, fantastic grounds.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a choice, I would highly recommend it. It was just a very interesting place to stay.
Uh-huh.
And even if you don't stay there, excuse me, Pat, but
yeah,
and those of us that know call it the Nelly, not the Mount Nelson. Those of us that know our way around.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've only been there once, Dwayne.
Me too.
Yeah.
But they have an excellent afternoon tea. My wife is one that plans these things. She's done them in not 7 continents, but several places with the group. She loves to have teas in the afternoon to people. And most of them, you go, which I don't find a lot of enthusiasm for. You go and there's a few little sandwiches with the crust cut off and a little bit of tea, and you pay a huge amount of money and talk, and I'm still hungry after it's over. But hence I don't usually go. But she arranged one at the Nelly, at the Mount Nelson, and it's a buffet. And it was reasonably priced. We were there quite a while ago too, like Pat. But it's a fantastic, the teas, and you have the desserts, you go up and get what you want. So it's one that I convinced the men in our group to go to because I said they'd have a good time and a good meal. So afternoon tea at the Nelly is highly recommended.
Okay. Yeah. On the Gate 1 tour, I think almost all the hotels we started with, the names started with Protea, named after the flower. And all I remember is the hotel was very modern and tall. That's all I really remember about the one in Cape Town. That was not the case as we got out of this, the cities more. The hotels were much more interesting, I thought. I suppose most people who go to Africa also take the cable car up to Table Mountain, which is a cool ride up. And it's very high up. This is called Lion's Head, and you can see all the clouds around it. So obviously we're up above the clouds. And a little, I don't know why I remember this of everything, but evidently there was a song by Donovan years ago in the 60s that first there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is kind of song. And it was written about this mountain, that you could see it and then you can't because of the cloud cover. I just thought that was kind of weird, but interesting. So, but you can see these are actually buildings down here below the clouds. I mean, you can barely see, but can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Just didn't know if you could or not. Anyway, and that's, it's off in the distance there, but you can see the other one was.
It's like 1,000 points of light.
Yeah. This is called the Dassie. It was a little animal they had there. Bigger than a squirrel, maybe a little bit, no tail. but they were very timid, very, I'm not timid, but brazen, came right up close to you. Um, and there were some men on the trip who had extremely large telephoto lenses. And I thought that they were crazy. Look at those calla lilies. Aren't they gorgeous? Just sitting up next to the rocks in the mountain. Anyway, they were going, there's another Dassey, or maybe the same one. This just explains about them. Obviously, the mammal, I don't know if it's considered a rodent or not. Also, for life, attracting insects, rodents, reptiles, and other predators. So perhaps it's not a rodent if it's attracting rodents. Just a little critter, kind of cute.
Pat, what time of day did you go to the top of the mountain?
I honestly don't know. It must have been near midday though, because the shadows aren't long in any. Well, they are here a little bit.
Yeah. The reason I asked that is because many times, at least we were told when we went up there, many times it actually clouds up and you can't go up at all. I mean, you can go up there,
Oh,
but can't see anything. And I know when we first went, when we went the day it was scheduled, it was cloudy and we couldn't, we didn't go. So they rearranged the schedule and we went another day. So if you ever go up there, try to go first thing in the morning. And in fact, when we went that next morning, our guide, who was not that this makes any difference, but of German extraction, said, we're going to go and we're going to be at the top. And we're going to get ahead of all these other tourists. And she led us to the beginning of the line. So it's just a thing to keep in mind. If you do that, try to get
mhm.
there early in the morning.
Yeah. Well, maybe it was, like I said, at this point, 10 years later, I couldn't swear to anything. But
But the lines are, Dwayne's pointed also, the lines are very long later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also went first thing in the morning and you can wait. And when we came down, oh, the line was really long. So if you're going on your own, get there early.
Yeah. This is just a picture of one of those crazy men sitting out on the rock. You can't tell, but it's like here to eternity on the other side of these rocks. And I thought he was out of his friggin' mind. So I'm sure he got some great photos, but who knows if they were worth it, right? I'm afraid of heights. I never would have made it. There he is, standing up. Yeah. Can see how close he is to the edge there. A very pretty place. Just the lizard here. At first, I thought this was a snake, but it was just a stick. The lizard is the point of interest. You can see how tiny all the houses are way down there. And then this is just back down in Cape Town again, just before we left. And there was a protest, and I never figured out what the protest was about. They were walking down the street, but they looked like maybe they were of Middle Eastern descent, perhaps, or some kind of, I don't know. Are there African tribes that wear saris like that? Perhaps. I don't know. Anyway, I never did figure out what the protest was about, but there were quite a few of them. Oh, we had some free time and there was a, pre-planned tour we could have taken, excursion, but we decided to go on our own to a winery. We had quite an adventure there because just so you know, if you decide to go someplace out in the country, you may have trouble getting back. It's not like here where you can call somebody. We ended up having somebody convince their brother-in-law to drive us back into town for a fee. So, but this was a pretty place too.
I think we went there.
Did you go there?
I think we went to that, only we went up with a tour in South Africa that really has some very good wine. So if and north of Cape Town is the wine area that's not too far away. If you're interested if you like wine, it's got some very nice wineries.
Clearly, I'm a little fascinated with flowers, a lot of flower pictures. This was the name of the town that was close by, Stellenbosch, and that might have been the name of the winery too.
Yep, I think it was. I remember we went to that town. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did too. I think there's several. I think there's several wineries.
Yes. Yep.
But again, more, stuff. A lot of street cafes there. Little art in the park. I wish I could remember the history of this. It's clearly was some kind of military installation at one point.
That one winery.
You remember?
Is that at one of the wineries?
It was in that Stellenbosch town.
Yeah.
I don't think it was at the winery per se.
Okay.
I remember seeing it, but
Yeah, I don't remember at
It's
this
the
point.
Powder House.
what is it?
Powder House.
Oh, Powder House. Okay.
Yeah, where they kept their gunpowder.
Yes. And their drainage system here. More flowers. It's very pretty in general. Very pretty place. Oh, this is after we'd flown to Durban, which is on the Indian Ocean. And I absolutely love this sign. Okay, this is a beach, and they're saying to beware of the crocodiles, the sharks, and the hippos, and the strong current, and no lifeguard, and swim at your own risk, and no alcohol. I loved it. It was like,
That, before you get off of Cape Town, I would recommend one other place in Cape Town. It does require a boat ride. It's out to Robbins Island. Nelson Mandela, that's where he was imprisoned. So we went out there on with a tour that took us out there on a boat, and we actually saw the quarries where he had to work and his cell where he was at. It was just a very moving thing to actually see where he was imprisoned. Besides learning a lot more about his life.
Mm-hmm.
It was also very, we had I don't know if it's a unique tour, but our guide was actually a guard at the prison when Nelson Mandela was there for the cells
wow.
he was in. And he brought along his good friend who was a prisoner there. And they are now great friends. So the two of them were able to talk about what it was like for Nelson Mandela because they knew him when he was there. It was just a very interesting tour to be able to see that. And besides learning more about Nelson Mandela, so it's off the, I don't know, half an hour maybe off, or at most off the shore of Cape Town.
Well, I'm sorry I missed that.
And I think you did have unique experience. At least we didn't have anything like that. We just saw his cell, but we did not hear blow by blow from someone who
Yeah.
knew it.
Yeah, that's what it felt like, blow by blow. We could hardly stop talking to them. They had to make us leave.
I'm going to tell him one funny thing about the prisoner. Why was he there? Because he burnt down buildings.
There were some people in the water, despite the fact it was pretty chilly. But I suspect even if it were warm, the hippos, the crocodiles, and the sharks might have scared me away. Nice beach, but the crazy people, yeah. Yeah. Actually, this was someplace we were supposed to go, to this estuary where there were birds, but the wind, so I took a picture of the boat, but the wind was too strong to go out that day or something, so we didn't actually go there. We did have, as part of this particular tour, we went to 3 separate game preserves, and we had 2, the one we didn't get to go on, but we had 2 separate cruises down the river at twilight to see the animals come and drink. And I'd been to Costa Rica, and when they took us to see the animals on the river, we sat in rows in egg carton like seats. I kind of hated it. And for this trip, when we went down the river, they had tables pushed up against the edge of the boat, inside. 4 people at each table, and they served us drinks and hors d'oeuvres as we went down to look at the animals. So it was definitely a preferable experience. El Proto Hotel. This one is fun. I did take a bunch of pictures of this hotel. There's a couple of them I took a bunch of pictures of. This one was unique because it had a wall all the way around it, like a compound. And they weren't, I think this is, what do you call them? They have them here too. They have them out at Kensington Metro
Are
Park.
they weavers?
No, I can't remember. My apologies. Anyway, but one of the really cool things about this particular hotel is they warned us ahead of time not to leave the the compound after dark because the hippos came out into the street in the town at night, and you shouldn't go out after dark. So that was interesting, I thought. It was beautiful, and each room, each building was just 2 rooms, so that you had just one neighbor, and they were like little chalets. It was a beautiful place. It was. And then we went on to this game preserve, the name of which I will not even attempt to pronounce.
Shlushlui.
How do you say it?
Shlushlui.
Okay. Bless you. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm sure anybody's been on one of these knows this is how you go out to see them. It's an open truck, and there are seats that go up, and one person sits next to the driver. But that's just it. There isn't any additional protection. Here you can get a better view of it. There's a driver and one passenger, and then it goes up in the back of the pickup truck, kind of, as you're going around. That's just a guide. Animals. But we see when you go to these game preserves, the drivers of the trucks talk to each other on like walkie-talkies or some kind of radios saying, oh, we know there's rhinos here, there's hippos here, there's lions over there. And they seem to know the names of the descriptions of the places. So they tell each other where the best animals can be found so that you don't miss them. So they all hunt for them throughout the day. But
I had that experience in India. We went to a preserve there, and there were tigers, and the drivers were telling the other drivers, that there's tigers and so on.
Yeah. This is called a Cape Buffalo, and they told us that it's much more dangerous than it appears because it looks very placid most of the time, but then without any warning, it can get angry and it'll gore somebody. So they warned us not to, try to do anything, interact with any Cape Buffalo, but they were very prevalent there. And I think that was a termite mound. There we go, better side. We didn't tick any of them off or anything. We did tick off a hippo at one point, but we'll talk about that later. Is this a gazelle, guys? I can't remember what it is. I don't think it's a gazelle. Something else.
It's called a kudu.
Kudu, thank you. Our drivers called the gazelle the McDonald's of the preserve, meaning that they just got eaten,
Mm.
Oh, that's good.
Pekin. Warthog. Another rhino. They're not very pretty, are they?
No.
That's within them. Yeah. Then I guess this must have been outside the park then. This was probably, yeah, obviously in Swaziland. We went up into Swaziland also. Um, and there were a lot of vendors outside the parks. Went to a few places there. I'm not sure how valuable going up into Swaziland was, but nonetheless, we spent time there.
Swaziland, a part of South Africa then?
No, it's actually a separate country, but it's just teeny weeny. It's
Oh,
it's
okay.
it's like Monaco or something,
Oh, okay.
It's really little.
Yeah, I
Um,
understand.
yeah. Actually, I was in grad school with somebody from Swaziland, and I'd never heard of it until then. Nicest guy, but yeah. Anyway, this was obviously someplace we stayed. Don't recall anything special necessarily about the place, but obviously onto the game preserve again. Lots of elephants, lots and lots of elephants. And all the game preserves had very similar vehicles. I mean, they might have been different colors or something. They also warned us ahead of time to wear neutral colors, not to wear bright colors, and not to wear perfume or anything that would, attract anything.
And by the way, Swaziland is no longer the name of
No?
this country. No, I think it's informally called that now, but Eswatini is
Oh
the
dear.
name of Swaziland now.
Oh,
And I don't know the history of it. A lot of the places, Rhodesia
yeah,
has been renamed and everything else to get
yeah,
rid of the English or the European influence. And that probably is the reason there, but I'm not sure.
yeah,
But it's Eswatini now,
yeah. There we go.
and it is teeny.
Yes, it is. Definitely. This is why I bought the camera before I left, because it had a telephoto lens and I could get better pictures.
Oh, what a smile.
Yeah, yeah, that was one of the guys driving the truck through the game preserve. This one I was intrigued by we were out in the middle of nowhere in this itty bitty teeny tiny village, and it said broadband internet cafe. And I found that amusing, because this was 10 years ago. And I guess I just didn't expect it to be that advanced. This I thought was interesting. I don't know if you guys heard about this on your tour, but South Africa had made a commitment to build a little cement house for each homeless family.
Hmm.
And I'm not sure if this was one of them. It might have been, but at the time I was there, they built something like 10,000 or 15,000 of them, and they hadn't begun to scratch the surface. They had they had several areas where people lived in like tin huts, from stuff they scrounged up. But the government brought in porta potties and fresh water. But they were trying to work towards getting all the homeless people into little cement houses. This might not have been one. I'm not sure. But this is Kasani. But these places that are so small, I was intrigued by what was going on. This one was especially pretty, I think. It might be out of order because I think this was towards the end of the trip. But it was just gorgeous there. The the rooms were very fancy. They had a sitting area with a kitchen and then a separate bedroom. And they had fresh fruit in the refrigerator and fresh flowers on the beds. And the common areas were open air. So they were hot, but the rooms were air conditioned and very cool.
Is that a panoramic photo or something? That last one? Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
I know the camera did it, so. Now this is the open air part of it.
Is this on the Chobe River, Pat?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then we also took the boat out from here as well.
We have been at that same one, Pat.
Oh, really? It's a great place, isn't it?
Yep, I
Really
recognize
nice.
it.
Really nice. Yeah. I remember that in the morning we went out on the game, drive, And then we were supposed to have another one in the afternoon, but it had gone up to 105, and most of us opted to go to the pool instead. Because at that point it would have been our sixth half day, in a park. So group picture. Butterfly. These were just trying to remember what they were. I don't remember. They might have been a team, I think, a sports team. What's this called? A jacko something tree. The one with the purple flowers on it.
Jacaranda?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I figured somebody else had come up with it.
They might have those in South America too. I
Do
can't
they?
remember.
Yeah,
Mexico too.
yeah. The tour company took us to a school, and they'd asked us to bring, crayons and little school supplies for the kids. So we went to a school. So I have pictures of grade school kids. Little ones. We skip through these. Oh, there we go. We don't want that.
Pat,
Then, yeah.
did they do at the school? Did they do a concert for you or?
No,
Oh,
nothing like that.
we had I think that's a fairly common thing to do. The line where the group we were with is Advantage. We went to school and then they sang for us and danced for us.
Oh,
So that's something you could experience too if it happens to work out for it. If you decide to go sometime, sometimes that could be. We brought gifts and so on as well, but they actually
yeah.
gave us something in return.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to see their native dances dancing in their environment. We went to a native village. Actually, I'll add also that we did a boat safari down the Chobe River. So we were on the river in a boat that had like 14 cabins on it,
Oh,
we're able to go out and then in the smaller boats to go bird watching, fishing, looking for animals. I would highly recommend it because you're right out. I mean, we had hippos coming out of the water right outside our room, alligators swimming by, crocodiles swimming by. I'm sorry, and then we went to a native village, much like Dwayne described, where they did a native dance for you, and I was lucky or unlucky enough to be selected to go up with them and dance with them. They put a reed dress around me, so I've actually experienced firsthand native African dances.
yeah.
I assume, Cindy, you were very disappointed that you didn't get a chance to do
I
that
just
with Al.
watched. I just watched.
And I just found from Google that this is now Botswana, right?
Well, actually, Botswana was out of place. I said that was not in the right place in the slides. I apologized. It's actually, that was the last place we were. It wasn't in chronological order.
Did you see Barbara Goodsitt's a question about the food?
No,
Yeah, I was about to ask what the food was like in South Africa.
Well, we were on a tour, so they were taking us to, places that catered to tourists, but most of the places they had wild game as one of the selections for meat, and often the only one. And I'm sort of a very picky eater. And I do have a little trouble when I get into situations where the food is unfamiliar. Not only am I picky, I get stomach pains very easily too. So I have to be really careful what I eat. The other gentlemen who've gone probably have more to say about the food than I do.
The food was just, they were all very good. The different ways maybe of cooking it. And I wouldn't say that, yes, we had some wild game, but I don't know, some of the sauces and stuff that they had, just, I don't know, the food was excellent throughout our trip. But I couldn't say that there's something particularly unique that you should have to try when you're there. Just overall,
Yeah.
just a little bit different ways of
Julia
cooking.
was in my class.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
It was good. I ate more than I should have, as usual.
Yeah. So anyway, I apologize for the out of context hotel, which should have been at the end. Um, anyway, this was actually still in Swaziland here.
See that
Um,
lesson?
No.
the glass shop. I think they only took us here. You know how it is with tour buses; they have to find some place where they have enough stalls to take people to the bathroom. And so I think they stopped here. So, you know, but it was, they were blowing
Might
glass.
have been in the class that just quit.
Pardon?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. But the glass was very nice, and we saw them blowing the glass too. So, but
Just if you're talking about the countries, the Chobe River actually goes between Namibia and Botswana. So if you're keeping track of the countries that are in the area that Pat's talking about, that's another country in the area.
mhm.
The Chobe River is on one side of it is Namibia.
Namibia.
Well,
the, the
that's as close as I ever got.
yeah, these monkeys were actually on the grounds of the hotel we were staying at, and the people at the hotel warned us to keep our sliding glass door locked because if we didn't, the monkeys would come in and ransack our room. I remember that. But they were very playful. They were all over the place, and we had to be careful.
Our our first morning there, they warned us now if you leave the grounds where you have your breakfast and go back to your cabin, don't take bananas or food with you. And of course, one lady, could have been a man, but it was a lady, walked out with a banana in her hand and was attacked by a monkey,
Yeah.
steal the banana and got scratched and had to get medical care. So
Wow.
This must have been the second game preserve, which would have been Kruger National Park, I think. The lions, I have to talk about the lions a little bit. I used to have a house cat. I don't anymore, but looking at the lions, I was incredibly amused. It was very hot and there was very little shade, and they would lie in this little tiny bit of shade that they could find. And for the most part, they'd have like one male and a bunch of females. And evidently the females did most of the hunting. And they were right by a watering hole. And I think one of the next pictures might be of the watering hole. And every time a new animal came to the watering hole, one of the lionesses would lift her head up, look at the watering hole, and then kind of go, and lay her head back down. Like, eh. And I just thought that was really, really amusing that they did that. Here, this was the watering hole. It probably was man-made, but there were all these different animals that were there. You had the warthogs and the rhinos and the elephants and all different kinds of animals together. They were all there. Yeah.
That elephant's ribs are showing.
Yeah, skinny one.
Yeah. Huh.
Well,
Hungry.
there's not a lot of greenery around there. I mean,
Mhm.
there's some, but it's not like around here.
Yeah.
The vegetation's pretty
Wow.
sparse compared to ours. So you got a rhino taking a nap next to the elephants, I guess. Hippos. Yeah.
So did did the other animals get close to the lions or and just ignore them, or how did that work?
Well, I didn't see any actually approach the lions.
But they were within eyesight.
They
of
were
them.
within eyesight, yeah.
Wow.
But the lions were hanging out by the watering hole and there wasn't a lot of sources of water. So I guess they figured they'd take their chances. What did they say? When you're being chased by a bear, you don't have to run fast. You just have to run faster than the person with you. So, so I guess they were adhering to that policy. They figured they could get away faster than the person next to them. So they were going to go.
We were just amazed that you're showing a lot of pictures of elephants. How many elephants there were?
Yes.
We in one of the preserves, we were counting them, and we got up to 2,000 and stopped counting.
Wow.
Wow.
It's just amazing how many. And then sometimes they say you don't see any at all because they're in some other area. But we were just amazed at and the elephants act as families. I mean, they really take care of their the babies, and I mean, it's fun to watch how they relate. I could add lots of other stories about them, but the elephants were
Babies and playing in the mud.
yeah, they were just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is coming down from Swaziland towards Johannesburg. I'm sure the gentlemen and their spouses have been there, called the Blythe River Canyon. It's really beautiful. There's all kinds of rock formations and waterfalls coming down and everything. Unfortunately, I wasn't feeling that great and I probably didn't see everything, but it was very pretty. They were in the parking lot where the bus was. So here you can see better. I mean, these are people up here to give you some idea of the scale.
Oh my.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, really pretty. And you can't, this doesn't do it justice. There's little waterfalls coming down all over. I've taken to now doing videos when I see a waterfall because it really gives a better perspective. Actually, I worked with someone who took her family to this area for like 2 weeks. Just this area, not anywhere else.
We did not see that. Thanks you for sharing that,
Oh.
Pat. I wish we
Okay.
had.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. It was. Another panoramic there. It was just gorgeous.
Pat, where is we didn't see that either. Where is that near?
It's northeast of Johannesburg, and I can't tell you how far it was, but it was while we were coming down from Swaziland towards Johannesburg.
Oh, okay.
It was off that area. And this is the kind of thing I was talking about. You know, people out on the streets, they, obviously she was trying to keep the sun off her baby. Oh, here we have Nelson Mandela. I'm sure we can't see him very well. How come? Can you see him okay? Or is his head cut
yeah.
off?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Yep, we have that picture too.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You can see how big the statue is if I'm standing there. Yeah. I think that was for perspective. But we went and did all the Nelson Mandela and apartheid stuff, and we toured his home there. We went to an apartheid museum, and there's more of those beautiful trees.
Oh.
This was the house he lived in. Tour guide and his daughter. Yeah. That appears to be a nuclear reactor. Nobody talked about it, but I'm sure it was. This is the kind of houses many of them were living in when they were very poor. Just a shack like that made out of metal. There was any of you remember the incident with Hector Peterson? I can't remember right now, but it was one of the big incidents, that started some of the unrest. A child was killed. It was sad. Clearly, we were at a hotel there. This was one of the river cruises. Actually, I think this was the one for the hotel we already looked at that had that you guys stayed at too, near Chobe. I think that's where this was. Crocodile. And if this is the one I'm thinking of, we had gotten too close to a family of hippos, what appeared to be a mom, dad, and a baby. And the dad charged the boat. And the boat took off, and I mean, there wasn't a collision. But one woman on our group got this wonderful picture of this hippo charging the boat.
You
But yeah,
think the elephants. Wait a
yeah,
minute.
elephants. Yeah, no, we will see hippos, but this is, I'm just telling you, there, we're getting there. Just what I remember. Yeah. It was always trends towards evening. And then obviously after Johannesburg, they flew us up to Zimbabwe to go to Victoria Falls. And it wasn't the rainy season, so there wasn't as much water. There was still plenty of water, but not as much. We were told that you get pretty wet during the rainy season because there's so much water coming over. Did you guys go in the rainy season? Any chance?
No, ours was during the summer also, but I still got pretty wet.
Yeah.
What month were you there?
October.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I did see Iguazu Falls last year, and I thought Iguazu Falls were prettier.
These are
It goes on for a real.
beautiful.
Go ahead.
So Victoria Falls is very wide. Is that correct?
Yes, very wide. We walked for a really long ways, and we were still just seeing the falls.
Yeah.
Very, very wide. Yeah.
We actually did a helicopter ride because it's really hard to get a grasp of how wide it is.
Yeah.
I would recommend that because you can really get a better perspective, a better understanding of how many falls there are and how many different canyons, and
Uh-huh.
it's just so different than like a Niagara Falls or something.
Yeah.
Sure.
We did
What
too.
river? What river is this, by the way? You know,
Mm.
Zambezi.
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 Yes. Yeah. Good job. Yeah. But these are all separate areas. And here you can see how big, because these are people up here.
Where?
Up here on
Oh,
top of the
wow.
rocks.
Oh, wow.
Those are people. Yeah. There were some people that I thought didn't have the best judgment, who were kind of like stepping out into the water up there, And I thought, well, what if it's a little slick, But when you're young, you're immortal. There you go. You can see these people going out onto the edge. And I mean, there's water right here where they're going out.
We had a nephew that went there, that went out into that pool, and I think he was holding onto a rope, but nevertheless, it would have been real easy to go over.
Oh, yeah. This was one within the park itself, and there was a watering hole out our window. Wish I could remember which one this was, but one of the hotels we stayed at was right within the national park. And obviously, Monkey on the railing. Keep that door locked. Bunch of pictures of people on the bus. We don't need those. This is that same hotel, I think. So I apologize. Those other pictures were out of order. Yeah, because this is the inside of the hotel. It had the sitting area, and then over this way there was a little kitchen with fresh food in the fridge, and the bedrooms had, although it was air conditioned, they had mosquito netting around the beds. Yeah, but very, very nice place. And this was another place we went out on the boat as well. Fresh flowers. Hippos. This must be with a pretty eagle. Can see some of the tour boats were getting far too close to the animals, and they were getting not too happy about it. We were actually further away because I was using telephoto lens, but some of the boats were a little aggressive towards the animals, I thought.
I read that hippos do not swim. Can anybody confirm that?
I don't think that's true. Just because when my son was little, I took him to the Toledo Zoo and we went to the underwater hippo viewing place, and the hippos were swimming around. And I took a picture of my son with the swimming hippo.
The video that I saw said they can only bound on the bottom, and then they had come
Really?
up for air.
Oh, well, yeah.
But I don't know if, you know.
Actually, I've never heard that they can't swim. What we learned when we were there is the hippo is the most dangerous animal in Africa.
Yes.
I
Yes.
did not know that before we went there.
According to Wikipedia, they do not swim; they bound.
Huh.
Oh,
just checked it out now.
yeah.
So it has to be true.
There's the baby.
They do not swim. They do what?
They bounce up and down.
Oh, bounce. Okay.
Okay. Anyway, this is the baby that we saw. And the parents were with it. Oops, there's a crocodile. Yeah.
Pretty fierce.
Monkeys.
Baboons, yeah.
Yeah.
And these are Cape buffalo, a lot of them.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I thought they were pretty. They do look, like cows with horns, and you keep thinking they behave like cows, but evidently they don't. Lots of elephants.
I thought elephants were endangered, or is that only in certain areas?
I'm not sure. They didn't appear to be endangered where we were.
I think that might be in India.
Could be.
We never heard that they were endangered when we were there either.
No?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, this is definitely the one that we were at where the Yeah, there's a few out of order, aren't there?
And thousands of impalas.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're like the deer here. always thought the impala, well, they are still fun to watch. They're very graceful, but
Mhm.
but there's lots of them.
which is
Good
necessary
shot.
because they get eaten a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Ooh.
Good shots of the birds. Wow.
Thank you.
That's one too. That's a good shot. Mm,
Like I said, new camera just for this trip.
you
That
did
might be.
well with it.
Thank you.
Yeah, AI is telling me that elephants are endangered.
Oh, hmm.
Says the African elephant population was 12 million a century ago, and now it's 400,000.
Whoa.
Yeah.
20,000 a year are killed for
Hmm.
their tusks.
Wow. Yeah. I think that is the last picture, actually. We went through them pretty fast. Anybody have any questions or comments? I definitely recommend it as a wonderful trip if you can tolerate the flights.
May I share a hippo story that kind of illustrates
Sure.
the how dangerous they are? And I think the reason they bound is they can also walk, they can hold their breath for a long period of time, so they can walk along the bottom and then come up down the road. But we were taking a small boat. I mean, there were our traveling companions, the Jepsons, Tom and Karen, who some of you know, and I think maybe two other people. So it's a very small boat, just a little, not a rowboat, but size of a rowboat with a motor
Mhm.
on it. We're going from Botswana to Namibia to see a village. As we're coming back, there was a couple of hippos and a baby some distance in the future, down the road, down the water. And our guy got a little bit closer to it and shut the motor off so we could watch. And the hippos started coming our way. And he went to turn on the motor, it did not start. And although he didn't let it be seen, he was very concerned about it. As these hippos were coming at us, he could not get the motor started. And had he not finally got it, maybe I wouldn't be telling this story today. So they're
Wow.
very dangerous. But this is a very small boat, with 6, 7 people in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa.
I went out fishing with just a small boat with a guide and just two people in our boat. And it was absolutely gorgeous. First thing in the morning, animals and everything. But then when a hippo pops up like 10 feet away from your boat, you're going, God, if that thing would have come up underneath us, our boat
Oh,
would be over. And besides that,
Yeah.
there were crocodiles swimming by also. At the little unnerving. I enjoyed it completely, but when I saw this one hippo come up, probably 15 feet or something from our boat, I'm going, man, maybe I don't want to do this.
Yeah. It's a little scary sometimes. Yeah. Um, I know when we were in one of our trucks at one of the game preserves, it was actually the gate one tour guide had put a red hat on and he got hot and we were by the lions. Okay. And he got hot and he took his hat off and, to rub his brow. And he was like, doing with his hand, moving the hat. And the driver of the truck really read him the riot act about not doing that. So,
We had the same kind of incident where you aren't supposed to move quickly. And it really was a gentleman. It was not our one, the boat, but it was the one next to it, or our truck, but the one next to it. He just had his binoculars up and brought them down rather quickly. And the lion charged
ooh,
their truck. Now that he proved that what you hear about and that is the lions do a false charge first to see how you react. And if necessary, then they'll charge again and do the real thing. And that's what he did, a false charge. And then it was no problem. But I guess the concern was that we didn't know if the lion had read the book that you're supposed to do the
Right, exactly.
false charge first. So again, that's just
Yeah.
that move. We had evidence of that too.
Yeah. It's
Does anybody know what the political situation of visiting, not necessarily South Africa, but these other countries is today? I really don't know what the situation is.
I don't either. I
Well,
have no idea. I have an unrelated question for the rest of you. What do you think about traveling to Egypt these days?
I hope it's safe because my sister and brother-in-law leave next week for there.
Okay. I've been thinking about it, you know.
I know it's supposed to be fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't ruled it out yet. It's one of our go-to places, and so I think I would still go.
Yeah.
We didn't see as many lions because we didn't go to a nature preserve. We saw a lioness and her three cubs that were so stuffed because they had somehow, we don't know how, whether something happened to the giraffe. They'd taken down a giraffe.
Wow.
But I mean, you do get to see some of the gory parts when you go out into the wild. Also, that there was a full-size giraffe that had half of its stomach eaten away, and the lioness and her three cubs were under the in the shade, just like what you described. Too full to even notice anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Mhm.
That was my take on the lions, that they weren't very hungry because they'd lift their heads up and look at the animals at the watering hole. And you could almost imagine them just saying, you know, it's true.
When we were in Namibia, we flew bush planes from camp to camp, and we slept in tents.
Oh, wow.
And at night, so the first night or the first day we arrive and we go to the lodge for dinner, and I think we had kudu, and it was delicious. It seemed like all of the camps had chefs that were highly trained. And then after dinner, we could socialize, and we did. And then our host said, "Now, when you're ready to go back to your tent, let us know," because we were escorted by an armed guard who had an elephant gun, and he took us to our tent. And then we were advised not to leave the tent under any circumstances. And in your tent, you had an air horn, and should anything happen in the night, you were supposed to sound your horn. So in the middle of the night, we wake up and we hear the lions calling to each other across the valley, and it wakes you up when you hear that. And then we could hear something, and we thought it was they were the kudus walking by our tent because we could hear the leaves crunching. So it was an amazing experience, and I highly recommend Namibia if Africa is on your agenda.
I might not be brave enough for a tent in Africa.
Well, these tents were all on platforms. We got back to our tent after dinner and ready to crawl into bed. So at night it gets pretty cool. We were there in June. And I crawl into bed and I feel something at the bottom of the bed, and it's a hot water bottle. And it was wonderful. But the interesting thing about the showers, the tents had showers, but I didn't realize, because in the morning I had a hot shower. And then we came back in the afternoon and I wanted to take another shower. Well, it turns out that you have to make arrangements for the staff to put wood in the wood burning boiler that provides you with water for your particular tent. So there were some hardships as I took a cold shower in the middle of the afternoon.
Did any of those that went have any interaction with mongooses?
With what?
Mongooses.
Oh,
No.
Because we did it, I can't remember which it was now, but they would, there was two little story there. In our group, there was about 15 people, and one of them happened to be the niece and a friend of the person who coordinated it. And let's face it, you don't usually wear high heels and stuff wandering around this part of the world, but they were. And so they were causing some challenges once in a while. But anyway, and they were the ones that got it. One night, two mongooses had got through the roof, the thatched roof of their cabin, and were tearing stuff around, and they had left some chocolate out, and they got that, and so on and so forth. So I was surprised that none of you others even saw mongooses when you were out on the.
Not that I remember. No.
Mm-mm. No.
Okay, well, that's another animal that you could see.
So, this is Julia, and if anyone ever wants to hear the tightwad version of going to Africa for 3 weeks, South Africa, I can tell that sometime. But with the lions, I had rushed us through. We started in Cape Town and we rented a little car, which was like a Volkswagen Rabbit, and we and we drove it up through and did some national park that had lots of good scenery. And then pretty soon I rushed us and I got us to Kruger, and it turns out it was a day early before our campground reservations. And so then we're like, oh, it's okay, they had room for us. But we're driving a little ways and we saw lions, and it was the only day in our otherwise 3 nights that we did. So it kind of was a good thing. But the campgrounds in places like that, they have electrified fences around the tent areas. So we felt very safe. But when we went in the morning and walked around, you could see like certain snakes had gotten on the fence and were fried there.
Oh
uh-oh.
no.
And also, we were camping in other countries too. And in South Africa, it was so much easier because that British influence, they had hot water on tap. So for a camper, that means instant mashed potatoes or oatmeal. It's just so easy, or even tea. And also there was like a cooking area, and it had lights. And in the morning, the bugs had apparently been attracted to the lights and then had fallen on the ground and weren't all the way dead. So we saw hornbill and other cool birds that were going around and eating those bugs that were on the ground. But Al, I'm jealous of the helicopter part. My husband is afraid that helicopters will crash. So even when someone recommends, like in Alaska or somewhere, that's the way to go, I don't think we ever will.
Well, this was Cindy's first. She went off to work on dinner right now, but Cindy, it was exactly the same way. I'm not doing any helicopter rides. They crash all the time. But when we got to Victoria Falls, there was everybody seemed to be headed toward well, a large group, a number of maybe 12, 15 of us were all going to there, and she kind of got talked into it because the group did that. I never thought she would go all the way. But I went and bought a ticket, and she went sitting back on the picnic bench, and this lady next to her was holding her hand very tightly, saying, "Oh, yes, you can do it. Yes, you can do it." I think it's because of that lady that it wouldn't have been me that talked her into going, uh, even though I had a ticket already. But she absolutely loved it. It was just fabulous. And I don't know. Maybe I'll get her. I'll get her up in a helicopter again. But we had exactly that same experience.
We had gender reversal. The Jepsons, who I mentioned before, some of you know, and my wife and Karen both wanted to go up, and Tom and I did not want to go. But we decided we didn't want to be widowers, so we would go along to make sure that we go down together, and it was a very good experience. By the way, I'm putting in the chat. There's a guy named Peter Allison. Has anyone read books by Peter Allison? He is. I haven't sent it out. I'm putting it together. He is a guide, and he's written two books, at least two books that I know about safaris in Africa, and I think he's done some others now in South America too. But one of them is entitled "Whatever You Do, Don't Run," and the other one is "Don't Look Behind You." So you can get a flavor for the nature of the books. They're descriptive of safaris. That he was a safari guide, humorous, and if you can find them, might be interested to read. I'll send it out in about 10 seconds here.
And I'd give you a book to read also if you want to know what it's like to run a preserve for wild animals. There's a book called An Elephant in My Kitchen. Actually, somebody recommended it after our trip there. I read it, liked it so much, recommended to UMRA Reads, and we read it. So you can even read the book, or you can go. It's recorded and out on the UMRA website under UMRA Reads. It's called An Elephant in My Kitchen.
I
And
put it in
Marjorie
the
gave us,
chat.
yeah. Go ahead, Marjorie.
I put it in the chat. I enjoyed the book too.
Oh, thank you.
And I've just put my two by Peter Allison.
Okay, I think good things must come to an end. This was certainly a good thing.
Well,
And
thank you for looking at my pictures.
Oh, they were
yeah,
beautiful.
I want
They
to
were
thank
great.
Patty
Beautiful.
for putting this all together, and the rest of you for interacting so well. There's no meeting in December. We don't meet in December and August. So the next meeting will be January 22nd of the next year. And in the meantime, the planning team will figure out what the meetings are going to be for the first months of next year.